36 matches later, and 8 teams still have a realistic chance of making their CHAN dreams come true. 74 goals have been scored, and surely there are more to come. In today's trivia question, I simply want to know which nation was the first from Africa to reach the World Cup. SC, there's no better place to start today's show than that drama we saw on Monday night. Ironically, at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Kampala.
Yeah.
Have you recovered from the drama?
Have I? Yeah, I have. I have to.
What's the blood pressure reading saying?
I'm not sure about that, but look, man, it was quite an interesting, tensed-up game. I think it was a good game from both teams. Uganda being one of the host nations. I think they brought their A game, obviously in the second half to be precise. I think South Africa was controlling that match, to be honest with you. We'll get into it though.
So where did it go wrong for Bafana Bafana?
You know, when you look at Mtseki's way of managing the game, it's questionable, to be honest with you. The previous shows when I spoke about the team, I said, I'm worried about the fitness levels of the team. And when you look into that and you look at how the team fares, especially when they get to the 60th or the 50th to the 60th minute, it tells you that they're wearing off. And now, look at the changes that he makes. He brings on a Masuku, who's an offensive player. Thoroughly, when you look at that, you'd say, okay, it makes sense. He wants to still be on the offensive line. But then at the same time, are you consolidating? But then again, it speaks with a holistic picture of how South African teams plays. I'll bring an intercup situation in terms of the CAF and the Confederation conversation. You look at how our teams play those kind of games. You take a game like a Pirates game when they play the Pyramids, a Sundowns when they play the Pyramids. You look at how they play. In terms of consolidating matches, it's quite a difficult thing for us to do. And it outplays itself when you get into the national team. And for me, I look at that and I say, he should have probably went on a better way of consolidating the game in terms of who he had on the bench.
How so?
For instance,
when you were 3-1 up, should he have packed the bus, the train first, and then the bus?
Not entirely pack the bus, but find players on your bench that would consolidate the game for you. Even if you don't find players on the bench to consolidate the game, tell your players that, you know what, just make the game dirty. Put the ball outside. Go on the floor, just do it. If you watch the North Africans, how they go about these games, they will frustrate you, they will sit on the pitch, they will literally push the game to its end. So we need to get into those kind of spaces. But then again, as I'm saying to you, it's not the type of football that South Africans are accustomed to. Naturally, we want to still play football the way we want to know it. If you look at Ndlondlo, how he fared in this game, it tells you those are the kind of football players that we have in our national team setup. And that tells you the kind of football we want to play. So for me, I think they should have probably pushed the line a bit higher in terms of playing a low block. That wasn't going to work. Go mid, and then if you go mid, it allows you an opportunity to play.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about the unattached players. Definitely that night will go down in African football history as the night we saw the raw emotions of African football. We saw tears of joy and tears of agony. Yeah. At some stage, fans were leaving the stadium because they thought the game was done and dusted. Yeah. But now let's talk about the controversial moments in the game. That last penalty, for goodness sake, where does the man hide his elbow in that?
You know what? I'm really concerned when it comes to VAR decisions that are made, especially in this tournament. They've been quite bogus, to be honest with you. When you look at them, the controversy around it. I mean, Masuku had no reason to. Not a reason per se, but
to play netball.
not really. But where else can he put his arm? I mean, he's literally trying to walk away from the ball. If you look at his upper body, and unfortunately, it hits his body. And in this case, this is ball to head.
So the referee was reacting to the pressure from the crowd because that stadium. Over 50,000.
You know what? For me to agree to that, I would be wrong. These are professionals. I mean, they've been in these kind of setups for quite some time. And if a ref is being pressured by a host nation support, to make such a dubious decision, his career is on the line at the end of the day, not the fans at the end of the day. The federation is going to come back, or probably CAF is going to come back and say, hey, let's talk about this. You made a decision here. What happens? Your career is over.
All right, so now let's look at the unattached players. Have they done enough to secure contracts after this tournament?
Look, we have to point reference a player such as Ndlondlo. Already, he has been taken back by Maruma Gallants. he's going back to Maruma Gallants. Neo Maema, there's conversations around him. Not a solidified conversation, to be precise. There's one player we're not talking about here, Rama. Rama. He started all
32 years old, though.
The experience in there, it's something else. He's a captain by true nature. If you look at the teams that he's played for, it shows that this guy is well experienced. And for me, for a player that of his caliber, he hasn't found a team, I'm looking at it and saying there's a lot of PSL teams that could really use his experience. You know, he's not that old. I mean, 32 years is not that bad.
Okay, in football terms, that's ancient. But so for you, they've done enough, basically, to find new clubs.
There are a lot
this
of
was
players,
an eye-opener.
There are a lot of players that we can question their input into the game. I look at a player such as Masuku, for one.
So do you see these players making it into Hugo Bruce's side?
That's impossible, to be honest with you. Firstly, we'll have to go back into the league and watch them how they fare into the league, and that's where they're going to be judged. In the Chen tournament, mostly our players are not ideally. You don't see a player moving from a Chen tournament into a WEFCON squad. It hardly happens. So with Hugo Bruce again, Hugo Bruce has his own charges. He believes in his own charges. And again, if you look at a number of players that we have in South Africa, you go abroad. There are so many players. For one, I could bring up a player such as Giflings. He's been doing so well, you know. Hugo hasn't called him. So what makes these guys so special to an extent that they are going to be put into the first team? I don't see that happening.
Okay, let's talk about the confirmed teams that have made it to the quarterfinals. We have Kenya, Madagascar, Tanzania, Morocco, Uganda, Senegal, Sudan, and Algeria. SC, any surprises? I know you were surprised that Eric Shell's team didn't make it to the last 8.
No, I'm not even surprised. I'll tell you something interesting about Nigeria. They got a thumping in 2018 when they played Morocco. They got the same scoreline they got against Sudan. So you look at that alone, you say it's not a surprise. But the surprise that you're talking about, for one, you have to look at Madagascar. You spoke about it, and I said to you, I'm not sure about Madagascar, but they've come out and they've put their best foot forward. And for them to find themselves in this position,
called it a holiday destination.
They've changed that, changed the narrative, to be honest with you.
And Sudan, were you shocked that they topped Group D?
Not entirely. Again, when you talk about Sudan, you need to talk about exactly what we spoke about earlier on at the top of the show, Intercup competitions.
And
look at Al Hilal. In the CAF space, they've got such good players, and it shows when you have a good team that is playing in these tournaments. When it comes to a Chen space or a Chen tournament, you'll find teams that are doing much better.
Okay, and a team like Tanzania, Kenya,
Tanzania, you have to give it to them. What they've done in terms of their investment in the league, if you look at that squad alone, that squad is literally a squad that's going to play the WEFCON, in my opinion. And the players that are there, you're looking at Clement Mzeza, you look at Fazail Toto, you know, he's such a prolific player. So those are the kind of players you look at. Dixon Job at the back, who's the captain, you know, at Young. Amazing players to see. So for me, I look at that and I say, quite a solid team in Tanzania. Kenya, for one, it's a surprise package for me. I say that it's a surprise package. This is the first time they've been in this tournament. And what I like about Kenya is that if you look at Benny McCarthy, he's new into a national team setup, and he comes into this competition with a team that none of us, at some point he comes out in the press conference and says to us, I'm not going to pick the kind of players that you guys are anticipating. I'm going to pick the players that are best for me.
So SC, I take it you supporting Kenya now that South Africa is out?
I think I will go with Tanzania, to be honest with you, more than Kenya.
Thank you so much for joining us, SC. Now, turning goals into accomplished dreams, one game at a time, has been the vision for women's football. Let's hear what our next analyst has to say about this and much more. Stay tuned.